Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for waiting. It has taken quite some time, but it looks like we are about ready to get started with NightEnD versus Dimaga, kicking off right here on the Metalopolis. It took a while because NightEnD ended up engaging in a massive game against Morrow, and I think some of you may have seen that on Day 9 stream. I'm pretty sure he had about 20 Void Rays at one point, so I'm interested to see what he can do against Dimaga, who is a thoroughly different kind of Zerg. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, bringing you Dimaga. He is in the blue trunks, and he is playing Zerg right here on the Metalopolis versus his opponent, the one and only NightEnD. He is in the red trunks, and he is playing Protoss. But yes, Mass Void Ray is useful talent I have, I'm told. It's quite nice, seems to do the job. Dimaga, quite the aggressive player. I haven't seen Dimaga playing quite some time, actually. It'll be an absolute treat to see that one. Now, as to whether or not he'll be able to deal with NightEnD, considering what NightEnD was doing tomorrow, you have to debate whether or not one player is better than the other. I wouldn't say that one player is, really. I'd say that Dimaga is a sufficiently different kind of Zerg player. And right now, Dimaga will hold back, and we'll see as to whether or not he decides to risk the expansion. He knows that his opponent is not in close air position. NightEnD already out on a scout. It is possible that he'll be able to get that expansion early off and not have it blocked, but it is kind of risky. Metalopolis is not a huge map. It's a little difficult to judge as to whether or not that's going to be the case. And of course, if you delay and then it gets blocked, then that slows your spawning pool down or you're extracted by a few seconds. And right now, NightEnD is heading in the right direction. Got more drones coming up from Dimaga right now. Currently sitting on 15, hasn't actually built anything else just yet. Let's see as to whether or not he is actually going to head down there, and if he's quick enough, he's going to be able to grab this. That shouldn't be a problem at all. Nicely started there by Dimaga, who is not suffering from getting blocked off by that probe. He's going to be very happy about that, I have no doubt. NightEnD with the gateway up by the ramp of this particular map. Nothing particularly unusual about that. Assimilator coming down as well. We'll see as to whether or not he decides to go for that mass air play that he decided to go against Morrow. Admittedly, those games were very, very long, so against Dimaga, I don't know that's going to be the case. Dimaga's much more aggressive, far more aggressive than someone like, say, Morrow would be. Morrow likes to play the long game. He's always extremely good at playing the long game. And in this case, NightEnD may not want to play a longer strategy with a longer idea in mind, because Dimaga might just get aggressive really early. It's good that he's got this expansion down. That'll certainly help him out quite a bit. We'll see as to whether or not NightEnD decides to do anything particularly aggressive early on. He does have the second assimilator coming out, so indicates he will either go for some kind of tech play going through from the robotics facility through the robotics bay to try and get hold of Colossus, or he'll look to try and maybe grab a Stargate, which we've seen from him before. Find out as to whether or not that is the case shortly. Very shortly. Cybernetics score is about to complete. Have a look at his gas count. It is quite high, but admittedly he does need that to start off his Wargate research immediately and boosting out a Stalker in the process. Dimaga, on the other hand, doing what you'd expect a Zerg to do at this stage of the game, which is to do nothing but mine minerals. Very, very greedy race. Exceptionally good at mining. Just simply because, hey, I can build a second base really, really quickly. Start pumping out the drones. Now, he's a little behind by this stage, but he won't be if he keeps up this rate of drone expansion, which is what's going. Now, there is a sentry coming out for NightEnD, and that's, of course, because he's going to expand. He needed the extra cash. Spine Crawler coming down for Dimaga, and nicely set up, to be honest, to repulse any kind of early attacks or play along those lines, so I wouldn't be too worried if I happen to be him. And a gateway going down at the bottom of the ramp as well for NightEnD, to make sure that everything is all above board. Not seeing any signs of any Stargate play or anything like that from him just yet. Then again, he hasn't picked up a robotics either, so he's very low on the tech right now. Another gateway coming down right here for him. See a Spine Crawler completed now for Dimaga, and now going into Roaches. He does have the Speedling upgrade coming up, and his count is looking pretty good. Drone count is at 23, and it's steadily rising, as you'd expect from a Zerg player with 2 Queens and 2 hatcheries this early on in the game. It works very, very well for him, and NightEnd's going to have to adapt to that quite nicely. As to how he's going to do that, well, we will find out shortly. He's walled off this area right here, which is always very nice, simply because of how close the Nexus actually is to the ramp on this one. You can make a very effective wall off very easily, and it makes getting Zerglings into the minimal line a little bit more tricky, since it makes it it's a smaller target, they've got to actually make their way through here. And here we go, folks. Here is the Stargate play that we perhaps expected to come from NightEnD, and that's what's coming in right now. He does have 3 gateways up, and he'll then go into a later Stargate. Plenty of sentries available. He's pretty much unassailable at the moment. Dimaga will try and apply pressure with roaches and zerglings as well. He's only got 3 up on the field right now, though, so he'll need an awful lot more than that to do anything. Now, sentries very, very nice against roaches and speedlings, simply because they can very easily divide them, and roaches have a particularly short range. Zerglings having a look around, seeing what they can see. What will they spot? Well, they're not going to be able to get into the base, and that, to be honest, should kind of make Dimaga suspicious. Maybe to the point of where he might want to sacrifice an Overlord. He does have one here, but it would take a while to get over there, and a quick Stalker response would ensure that that is not scouted. Now, there is no response to this Void Ray from Dimaga as of yet, and if he continues to go into the roaches, then he's going to be in trouble. However, does he have enough to pressure this front? And it looks like he might. It depends on how good the sentry play is right here as to just how much damage will be done. A little bit of damage to that sentry. He's not able to shoot past and shut down that pylon. That would be critical. He doesn't quite have the range. It's masterfully positioned right here by NightEnD. And now, unfortunately, the first Void Ray is out. Locked down very easily. Will he have enough firepower to break this Nexus, however? Roaches continue to hold up. Once those force fields and try and charge in right here with the Zergling. And once again, nailed down with those force fields. He can't bring the Nexus down. He doesn't have the firepower he needs to do anything else right now. That's not so great. And now the Void Rays will start clipping away at everything. And in the meantime, you see Dimaga has started up an Evolution Chamber. He had no real choice in the matter. He needed to get that Evo Chamber out. Dimaga now stuck with a whole bunch of Zerglings that could be picked off by these Void Rays. Admittedly, it will take a while. However, NightEnd's got this area nice and locked down. He's got plenty of sentry stalkers available as well. Any attempt to run into the back of that middle line is going to get blocked immediately, simply because of how this is actually structured. And those of you who are looking to perhaps work out how to play Protoss versus Zerg, you should maybe take into account just how this has been built, especially on this map. It's specific to this map simply because of the distance. Very, very helpful. +1 melee attack upgrade on the way up for Dimaga, so he will be relying on Zerglings for the time being. He does not, in fact, have anything else he can do other than pump out roaches, which is, of course, totally useless. Roaches get picked off by Void Rays so easily. He has expanded, which makes sense. However, these Void Rays are going to start to pick at his expansion if he's not careful. There are currently 3 on the field, and there's a Phoenix coming up as well. Now, Dimaga trying to run his way in there, but you know that's not going to happen unless NightEnD wasn't paying any attention, and easily blocked off with the force field right there. So the Zerglings unable to get in and unable to do any damage at all. Robotics Bay on the way up right now for NightEnD, and this could end up getting very, very messy for Dimaga, who actually has 6 queens out at the moment. That is quite a lot of queens, and of course the reason he'd have done that is because he has no other real anti-air defense. Plus, it makes more sense, I think, to go for queens as opposed to those stalkers and stalkers. What the hell am I talking about? God knows. I haven't had much sleep, ladies and gentlemen. Spore crawlers. Spore crawlers, they are kind of immobile, which doesn't help all that much, and they are easily killed by massed Void Rays, as you can see right there. Now, if your opponent doesn't have a lot of Phoenixes, then you might be thinking, well, let's build some Queens, because you can't lift all that many, and they've got very long range. So, sniping off right here, trying to take out one of those Void Rays. He's got a lot of Queens on the ground. That's really going to help, but he's about to lose one. A great transfuse there by Dimaga, and another transfuse. He doesn't lose any of them. And what a turnaround right here to drive Dimaga. Oh, yes, drive Dimaga forward, and indeed NightEnD all the way out of his base. Excellent play by Dimaga, going the Spanish style right there, of building a lot of queens. And Dimaga is working right now on getting that third base fully operational. Unfortunately, he is losing Overlords. We've got one picked off right there by the Void Rays and the Phoenixes. And now NightEnd's Air Force primarily consists of Phoenixes, which could make things a little bit tricky. And of course, you want to get Hydralisks out and a few Spore Crawlers against that kind of thing, because the queens will get easily lifted and sniped off. And that's exactly what's going to be trying to happen right here, as you can see. Look to try and get one, didn't happen, but since Dimaga has mass queens, he's able to transfuse those queens all the time, and he's continuing to build them as well, which is great. Mass queen is unbelievably useful. You'd be very, very surprised. The transfuse is fantastic. In the meantime, you see Dimaga trying to harass this third base of NightEnD. Will he be able to shut it down? Does he have +1? He does, actually. He might be able to shut this down. Good damage coming in right here. 100 HP and falling rapid. Oh, wow, force fields. Look at that. Locked off completely. Force field donut there, which stopped that Nexus from dying. NightEnD pulled that off very nicely. He would have lost that otherwise. There was too much damage coming in to pick off. The question is, can Dimaga get in there? That is a two-pronged attack. He's trying to draw his opponent out of position. And then he'll be able to run this line right here, and we'll see if he can shut down this Nexus. That's what he's attempting to do right now. Shields on the Nexus down, drop below 300 and falling rapidly. 200, and with the Colossus there, it will survive. He is not able to shut that down right now. NightEnD sitting there quite nicely. A couple of Zerglings did make their way into NightEnd's mineral line, and Dimaga was able to kill 4 probes, but not an amazing piece of harassment, not really enough, but still he was able to do that, so nothing wrong with that at all. And NightEnD hanging around here. Dimaga thinks he's got enough queens to deal with this, does he? Well, he certainly could, and drives them away quite nicely. Dimaga currently sitting on 9 queens and 3 bases. That is a lot of queens, folks. That's an unusual number of queens. NightEnD right now sitting on a Colossus as well. He's actually got 2. His army supply is looking really nice right now. Admittedly, a lot of it is committed to that Air Force. Hydralisk Den was built, but the Hydralisks themselves didn't really come out. He only got 2 of them, and he does have a Spire on the way up as well. Snipes off yet another Overlord, and that's always a good thing to do if you happen to have a great Air Force as the Protoss. Another one over here, and of course it denies scouting information to your opponent as well as supply. Dimaga looking to expand right now into his 4th base, 3rd expansion right here, and plenty of Banelings on the way for Dimaga as well. Really playing a variety strategy, which is great. It's good to see. I have to wonder if he will actually support that attack with his queens. That might make a huge difference, really, especially if he happens to have Roaches in the force, which he does have the speed upgrade for Roaches on the way, so it is possible. He's also got Ventral Sacs coming up, which will give him the ability to drop. Drop play from him could be intriguing to see, especially with Banelings. Dimaga has what I would class as quite a lot of Zerglings. I think that's the scientific term. 110 is actually quite a lot. I wonder how many of these he's actually going to end up morphing into Banelings. He does have a lot of gas. He doesn't really have the mineral count to make that happen. Another hatchery coming down from him as well, as you can see over there. And plenty of queens to drive away those Phoenixes. NightEnD pretty much locked down for the time being, but he does have a good army.